Today we're going to be going over the most influential cards in Duskmourn that I think are going to make an impact in Standard. Let's go. Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to the Wafflecast. So today we're going to be talking about the cards that I think are going to be most influential coming up in Standard with this new Duskmourn set that's coming out. And so I'm going to break down each card that I chose and why that I chose that card. Basically, I chose one from every color, one in multicolor, and one in artifact that I think is going to make a big impact in Standard. Now, they may not make an impact right away, but I feel like a lot of these will make some kind of noise in Standard. Now, some of these cards are going to be good in other formats too, but I'll touch on that a little bit as I talk about the cards, but let's just jump into it, right? So we're going to start with white for, if you know how the Wooburg setup is. So we're going to start with white. And the card in white that I see making the most impact is Split Up. And the reason being is white always likes to have destroy effects, destroy all effects, things like that, especially if it does control, like blue-white control, black-white control, mono-white control. I mean, there's a lot of different control out there with white, but Split Up is a perfect card for this because a lot of cards in white, you can play creatures that will have vigilance, and they'll be untapped, and your opponent's attacking with a bunch of creatures, and so they're all tapped, and it makes it a one-sided board wipe. Or you can leave all your guys untapped, wipe the board, and then come in for an attack when you've taken out all their creatures that are tapped, so that you can actually swing in there and not worry about a backswing on their turn. So that's the first card that I got for you. Super solid, super simple, right? The next card, I really love this card in blue. I feel like it's going to have a lot more implications with certain decks like Storm and other things. Let me just show you the Tale of Tameo. Now I love this card. Mill 2 cards. If 2 cards that share a card type were milled this way, draw a card and repeat the process. So it's a little bit of a I think it's called Millstone from Tempest, if I'm remembering correctly, where it did that process. But it's like you mill 2 instances, draw a card. You mill 2 creatures, draw a card, and then you repeat it. Playing blue-red Storm, I absolutely love this card because there's a lot of instants and sorceries in the deck, so it can very easily fill up the graveyard. And then when you get to the 4th ability, exile any number of target instant, sorcery, and or Tameo Planeswalker cards from your graveyard. Copy them. You may cast any number of the copies. Oh, this is so good. I mean, even if you don't play like a Storm deck, even if you play some kind of control deck, and you've got like a Sunfall in there, and you've got a couple of the Deduces and, other spells, instants, and sorceries to really profit off of this card is going to be amazing. I really like this card. I think it's well costed. I think it's really good that they made it have 3 saga phases before you hit the last saga, because it would have been really overpowered at 3 mana to be able to do it 2 turns and then go off. So I think they did a really good job at balancing this card, but I think it's still a really powerful card that you're going to see impact Standard. Now, it'll definitely see some play in Commander and other formats, just like Split Up will, but I think it's a phenomenal card for Standard and coming up. Anyways, moving on to Black. Now, a lot of people say the sequels are never as good as the original, but I think people may be wrong about this one. And if you can guess what I'm talking about, it's Meat Hook Massacre 2. Even if you don't cast the card, right, for the quadruple black double X, if you somehow cheat this thing into play, it's still going to have a massive impact on the board. Because whenever a creature you control dies, you may pay 3 life and bring it back to your side of the field. If you're playing some kind of blue-black, black control, whatever, whenever a creature an opponent control dies, they may pay 3 life. If they don't, return that card under your control with a finality counter. So it's like, imagine being in a matchup where they've got a Sheldred, you're like, boop, kill your Sheldred. You want to pay 3 life, or you want me to have it? And if you get them down low enough, they can't pay the life anymore. And so that's where this whole balance comes in, especially with some of the ways black can really drain the life away from your opponent. So I really think even just cheating this into play somehow, or even just paying the 4 black and playing it, even for 5 mana, like each player sacrifices a creature. If you both have 1 creature, you're just like, boop, drop it for 5. I'll pay 3, bring mine back. You want to pay 3 to not let me have your creature? Things like that. It can get out of control pretty quick, I believe. So I think this card is actually better than people are putting out to be. It's not the original Meat Hook Massacre, which was broken as hell, but I still think this card can be just as broken. All right, so the elephant in the room for red. I mean, if I didn't put this card, you'd probably wonder why I didn't put this card, because it's the best red card that was printed, maybe ever printed. Screaming Nemesis. Haste, whenever Screaming Nemesis is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to any other target. If a player is dealt damage this way, they can't gain life for the rest of the game. Not just till end of turn, or can't gain life, unless blah, blah, blah. No, for the rest of the game. Like, red really needed this? No, it didn't. But the point is this thing, it's easily killable. Don't get me wrong. You can go for the throw. You can Sheldred's Edict if it's the only thing out there. You can kill it without damaging it. But just for the fact that mono red runs so rampant on ladder, going up against this, it's going to be a pain. Okay? A lot of you are going to probably be screaming in pain when it does its thing. Because even red could be like, I'm gonna shock it, and then you take 2 and you can't gain any life. This really hurts the blue-eye control. It hurts a lot of different decks out there. So it's gonna be running everywhere if they're playing red. I guarantee you. But it's a really good card. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, this is probably the best red card in Duskmourn. The second best one, in my opinion, is the Red Overlord. But this one is clearly just better. So I had to put this one as, I feel, the most influential. All right, so moving past the elephant in the room. Let's move to green. So I had a hard time with green. Green was probably the hardest one for me to really pick a good card from it. Because there was a lot of subpar green cards, and then there was like 1 or 2 that maybe could be better than this, but I don't think so. Haunt Woods Shrieker. So 3 mana 3/3. Whenever Shrieker attacks, manifest Dread. Pay 1 and a green, reveal target face down permanent. If it is a creature card, you may turn it face up. That ability right there is the exact reason why I chose this card, because you can cheat a lot of things into play with this thing. A lot of fatties. I mean, if you manifest Dread in a Tali and then pay 2 mana to flip it up, you've got a 7/7 Trampler for 2 mana. Yeah, you don't get the ability of when it enters the battlefield, but like turn 4, possibly a 7/7 Trampler is pretty good. Or even just the fact of getting the new demon guy into play, Valverath. Like, excuse me, what? Like, this card, I believe, will probably see a lot of play. Just for the fact that you can cheat a lot of creatures into play. Yes, you do lose the ETB abilities on a lot of creatures, but there's some creatures that you're perfectly fine with, like, 2 mana, look at this guy. Like, he's going to beat you in the face. So, and even if you attack with it and it dies and you can get that 1 permanent onto the field, in my opinion, it did its job. So, that's... And here's the added bonus, right? You play it turn 3, you attack, right? So in the attack step, it triggers. You put the permanent down. Say your opponent goes to kill the Shrieker. You go in response, because this does not say at sorcery speed. You say in response, reveal this permanent. Haha, look at my big dude. That's kind of gross. So that is the biggest thing, that this can be done at instant speed. You could block with the 2/2 creature and then flip that creature up to win the block. Like, it has a lot of potential. So, I really, like, once I figured out how good that card was, it's like, yeah, this is obviously the best green card. So let's move on to multicolored. Now, multicolored, I kind of poked and prodded and looked around at a bunch of stuff, and I settled on this guy. Victor I can't even say it. Victor Volgavos Sinchiel. I believe that's how it's pronounced. Honestly, I suck at pronouncing things. It's this guy, right? A 3/3 legendary human warlock with Eerie. Whenever an enchantment you control enters, and whenever you fully unlock a room, surveil 2 if this is the first time the ability is resolved. If it's the second time, each opponent discards a card. If it's the third time, put a creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. I was like, wow, this could be powerful, but playing 3 enchantments in a turn. I was like, well, but wait, if they enter. So, yeah, I have 3 enchantments enter. I can get a creature back from the graveyard. I started looking around. There's a lot of cheap enchantments in black and white. There's the Fear of Lose Teeth. Like, it's a 1 mana little enchantment, dude. There's Ethereal Armor. I mean, that's just 2 cards out of this set. There's a lot of other cards. There's a couple of rooms that cost like 2 or 3 mana that you could easily do. So, like, if you play this guy late in the game and then just, like, start dropping stuff, you can surveil, you can make them discard, you can start bringing back some big fatties. I mean, there's a lot of potential with this guy to be abused and broken. And I didn't look beforehand, and I could be wrong, so put it in the comments down below. But I think if you're able to find a way to, let's say you like Dance of the Maws, like in Pioneer or Modern, and you bring back like 6 enchantments, I believe they each trigger this thing. Because I don't think, it doesn't say when 1 or more enchantments you control enter. So I believe you get each one individually to trigger. I could be wrong, but I believe that's how it works. So if there's a way you can bring back a bunch of enchantments at the same time, like let's say you bring back 3, that's 3 triggers. That's pretty insane. So I think this guy is definitely one of those to really watch out for, and I think he could be abused pretty well. All right, so last but not least, we get into Artifact, right? And there's only 3 artifact rares. So if you've noticed, there's a lot of rares and mythics in this. And I didn't go into uncommons or commons because a lot of the times the rares and mythics are what impact standard the most, right? Out of the 3 artifacts, Ghost Vacuum was the one that most excited me. Because it's like, a 1 mana, just drop this artifact and start exiling cards from a graveyard. Okay? Then you pay 6 and sack the vacuum to put each creature card exiled with Ghost Vacuum onto the battlefield under your control with a flying counter on it. Each of them is a 1/1 spirit in addition to its other types, activated as a sorcery. Now, obviously, if this thing could be activated instant speed, absolutely nuts. But still, the ability to bring back certain creatures, even as 1/1s, still is huge and impactful. This is where all the ETB creatures come in, like all of the overlords, all of the like Atali, and a lot of the dinosaurs that do stuff like that. Like, there are so many creatures that could benefit, like they could benefit you with the ETB triggers with this card, to where you can just outright win the game. Like the boiler overlord. Like, if somehow you were able to bring back 4 of those and a way to copy him or do something, you could dome your opponent for 20, like, easily. Or even just 4 of them to do 16 if it's late in the game and you've already done some damage to them. Like, there's definitely some potential for this card. So that's why I believe that this card may make some impact in Standard. But anyways, that's what I got for you guys today. Let me know what you think. Do you think maybe I could have chose different cards? Do you guys have some cards that you could definitely think of that might be top of the color, like how I did, 1 for white, 1 for blue, whatever. So let me know down in the comments below what you think. I'd love to hear what you guys' thoughts are, but I am definitely excited and ready to start brewing some Duskmourn. So I can't wait for it to come out. Can't wait to start cracking packs and getting into it. But I'm not going to make this any longer than it already is, because it is a pretty long video going over this. But as always, I appreciate all of the subscribers, members of Patreon and things like that. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. I know I haven't been here in a while, but working on it. So thank you guys again, and I hope to guys. I hope to see you guys in the next video, and I'll leave you like I always do. Have a wonderful day, and as always, stay surfy, my friends.